The massive alien ships hung in Earth's orbit like dark clouds before a storm. Their black metal hulls absorbed sunlight, making them look like holes in space itself. There were 12 ships in total, each one bigger than the largest human aircraft carrier ever built. The biggest ship, sitting in the middle of the formation, was the flagship Terror of Stars. Commander Orcs stood on the bridge of his flagship, his tall, insect-like body casting a long shadow across the polished floor. His 4 arms were crossed behind his back in a military stance as he watched the blue planet through the massive view screen. 2 of his junior officers worked quietly at their stations, their fingers moving across glowing control panels. "Status report," Orcs demanded, his voice deep and scratchy, like stones being crushed. Officer Merle turned in his chair, his antenna twitching nervously. "Sir, the humans continue to ignore our demands. They've responded to our ultimatum with what appears to be pictures of small furry animals they call cats and dogs." Orcs' mandibles clicked in annoyance. In his 30 years of conquering planets for the Galactic Federation, he had never encountered such a bizarre response to invasion threats. Most species either surrendered immediately or tried to fight back. These humans were doing neither. "Show me their latest transmission," he ordered. The main screen flickered to life, displaying an image of a small, fluffy creature with big eyes and floppy ears. Under it was written, "Sorry you're feeling cranky. Here's a puppy to brighten your day." Orcs slammed one of his fists against the command console. "They mock us, the Federation's most powerful battle fleet, and they send us pictures of what did you call them?" "Puppies, sir," Merle answered, trying to hide his amusement. The commander walked to the tactical display, his chitinous legs making soft clicking sounds on the floor. The display showed Earth's defensive capabilities, or lack thereof. No energy shields, no plasma cannons, not even basic gravity manipulators. Just primitive satellites and a handful of chemical rockets. "Perhaps," suggested Talir, his second in command, "they don't understand the severity of their situation." Orcs' crystalline eyes narrowed. "Then we shall make them understand. Bring the beast to the launch bay." The crew members around him froze. Even Talir's gray skin seemed to pale further. Everyone in the Federation knew about the beast. It was the military's greatest achievement in biological engineering. A creature designed to be the perfect weapon. Standing 8 feet tall with armor-plated skin, razor-sharp claws, and a neural network more advanced than most computers, the beast had never failed to break the will of any species it was unleashed upon. "Sir," Talir spoke carefully, "the beast has never been used on a populated planet before. The civilian casualties will be a necessary example," Orcs finished. "These humans need to learn their place in the galaxy. Ready the drop pod." Deep in the ship's holding area, automated systems began preparing the beast for deployment. The creature's massive form was secured in a specially designed pod, its mind kept in a controlled sleep state until the moment of release. As the pod was loaded into the launch tube, Orcs received another transmission from Earth. This time, it was a video of a small human child hugging what appeared to be a large, furry quadruped. "Sir," Merle reported, "they say this is their response to our big, scary monster threat. They say they're good with animals." Orcs let out a laugh that sounded like breaking glass. "We'll see how good they are with this animal. The beast was engineered to be untamable, uncontrollable except by its Federation masters. Launch the pod." The drop pod shot out from the Terror of Stars, blazing through Earth's atmosphere like a meteor. As it descended, Orcs imagined the chaos that would follow. Soon, these humans would learn what real fear was. Soon, they would regret their insolence. What Orcs didn't know, what none of the Federation's advanced calculations had considered, was that humanity had spent thousands of years perfecting something no other species had mastered: the art of turning fierce predators into faithful friends. The beast was about to meet its match, not in warfare, but in belly rubs and bacon treats. The morning sun shone brightly over Central Park as Tom Wilson began his daily dog-walking route. At 45 years old, with gray hair at his temples and laugh lines around his eyes, Tom had been walking dogs in the park for over 15 years. He carried his usual equipment: a treat pouch full of bacon-flavored biscuits, several tennis balls, and a water bottle. 5 dogs walked with him today: Max the Golden Retriever, Bella the Pug, Rocky the German Shepherd, Lucy the Labrador, and Tiny Pepper the Chihuahua. Each one wore a brightly colored collar and walked nicely on their leash, something Tom took great pride in teaching them. The first sign that something was wrong came when the bird suddenly went quiet. Tom looked up at the sky, shielding his eyes against the sun. A bright object was falling from above, leaving a trail of fire in its wake. It grew larger by the second, and Tom could now see it was some kind of metal pod. "Ha!" he said, reaching down to pat Rocky, who had started growling. "That's not something you see every day." All around the park, people began pointing and shouting. Some ran away, while others pulled out their phones to record the event. Police sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. The pod crashed into the ground about 50 yards from where Tom stood, creating a crater in the grass and sending dirt flying everywhere. Steam hissed from its hot surface, and the ground around it was scorched black. Tom's dogs pulled at their leashes, but he held them steady. "Easy now," he said calmly, though his heart was racing. "Let's see what we've got here." The pod's door began to open with a hydraulic hiss. Inside, something massive moved in the shadows. First came a huge clawed foot, then another. A low growl echoed from within, making the air vibrate. The beast emerged fully into the sunlight. It stood 8 feet tall at the shoulder, with thick, armored plates covering its muscular body. Its head was massive, with rows of sharp teeth visible, even when its mouth was closed. Spikes ran down its back, and its tail was long and powerful, tipped with what looked like a metal blade. Most terrifying were its eyes. They glowed with an unnatural red light, and complex patterns of light danced across them like computer code. The beast's saliva dripped onto the ground, sizzling where it landed. People were screaming now, running in all directions. Police cars screeched to a halt at the park's edges, and officers took cover behind their vehicles. Above, news helicopters began circling the scene. But Tom Wilson didn't run. Instead, he studied the creature with professional interest. His years of working with dogs had taught him to look past size and appearance to understand an animal's body language. The beast roared, a sound so powerful it shattered nearby windows. Tom's dogs, however, weren't acting aggressive anymore. They were curious, tails slightly wagging. "You're scared, aren't you, big fella?" Tom said softly, noticing how the beast's eyes darted around at all the movement and noise. All this must be pretty overwhelming. The beast's head snapped toward Tom, its glowing eyes focusing on him. It took a threatening step forward, claws digging into the earth. Tom did something that made everyone watching gasp. He sat down on the grass, keeping his body language relaxed and non-threatening. He gently settled his dogs around him, and they followed his lead, sitting calmly. "Nobody's going to hurt you," Tom said in the same soothing voice he used with nervous dogs. He reached into his treat pouch and pulled out a biscuit. "You must be hungry after that long trip." The beast paused, its sophisticated combat programming encountering something it had never been designed to handle: kindness. Its sensors detected no weapons, no hostile intent, just the interesting smell of bacon treats and the calm presence of both human and animals. In orbit, Commander Attack watched in disbelief as his ultimate weapon took another step toward Tom, this time with less aggression and more curiosity. The beast's tail, designed to slice through tank armor, had stopped lashing and was now held at a neutral angle. "What is this human doing?" Attack demanded. "Why isn't the beast attacking?" What Artak couldn't understand was that Tom wasn't doing anything special. He was just being human, treating the deadly alien weapon like any other nervous dog that needed a friend. The beast stared at the bacon-flavored treat in Tom's outstretched hand. Its advanced combat systems analyzed the small brown biscuit from every angle, searching for threats or traps. Finding none, the creature felt confused. In all its years of training and combat, no one had ever offered it food before. "Come on, big guy," Tom said gently. "It's okay. Look, Max will show you how it's done." Max, the friendly golden retriever, stepped forward on cue and gently took a treat from Tom's other hand. The beast watched with intense interest as Max happily crunched the biscuit, its tail wagging. The massive creature took another step forward, making the ground shake slightly. Its glowing red eyes flickered between Tom's face and the treat. Deep in its engineered brain, new connections were forming. The beast had been programmed to understand threats and attacks, but this situation matched none of its combat protocols. Up in orbit, Commander Ratak was having a meltdown. "What is happening?" he screeched, pacing back and forth on the bridge. "The beast's neural patterns are changing. It's considering taking food from that human." Officer Merle studied his readings with fascination. "Sir, the beast's aggression levels are dropping. Its brain activity matches nothing in our database." "Activate the combat override," Ratak ordered. "Release the rage hormones." The beast felt the familiar surge of chemicals in its system, designed to turn it into a mindless killing machine. But something was different now. The sight of the other dogs peacefully sitting around Tom, the gentle tone of his voice, and the inviting smell of the treat created a new kind of response in its brain. The creature let out a long breath, and to everyone's amazement, slowly lowered its massive head. Its mouth, filled with teeth that could crush steel, opened slightly. Tom smiled and held the treat closer. "That's right. Nice and easy." With surprising gentleness, the beast took the treat. Its teeth, sharp enough to tear through battle armor, carefully picked up the small biscuit. The creature's expression changed as it tasted the first freely offered food in its life. "Sir," Talir reported from the ship, "the beast, it's wagging its tail." Indeed, the deadly blade-tipped tail that had sliced through entire squads of soldiers was now moving back and forth, creating small gusts of wind in the park. The beast's eyes had changed color, shifting from angry red to a softer blue. "Look what else I've got," Tom said, pulling a large rubber ball from his bag. The beast's eyes locked onto it immediately. "Do you want to play?" The word play was not in the beast's combat dictionary, but something deep in its genetically modified brain, something the Federation's scientists had failed to completely remove, remembered ancestral memories of joy and fun. Tom threw the ball. The beast watched it arc through the air, its combat computers automatically calculating trajectory and speed. But instead of analyzing it as a weapon for the first time, the beast saw it as a toy. Before anyone could react, the massive creature bounded after the ball, moving with surprising grace despite its size. Its armored feet left deep prints in the grass as it chased the toy, caught it, and brought it back to Tom. The gathered crowd, which had been watching in terrified silence, burst into delighted laughter and applause. Someone started filming as Tom praised the beast and threw the ball again. In orbit, Ratak collapsed into his command chair. "Impossible," he whispered. "We spent decades engineering it to be the perfect killer. How did they turn it into a common pet in less than 10 minutes?" The beast was now rolling on its back in the grass, allowing Tom to scratch its armored belly. The deadly spikes along its back had relaxed and flattened, and its fearsome face bore an expression that looked remarkably like a smile. "Good boy," Tom said warmly, and the beast's tail wagged harder. The other dogs had gotten over their initial fear and were now playing around the massive creature, which was carefully moving to avoid stepping on its new small friends. The Federation's deadliest weapon had just learned something new. Being a good boy felt much better than being a beast. Commander Ratak's bridge had descended into chaos. Officers rushed between stations, analyzing data and shouting reports. The massive view screen showed their ultimate weapon playing fetch in Central Park, its armor gleaming in the sunlight as it chased another tennis ball. The beast's neural patterns have completely changed, Merle reported, his antennae twitching nervously. Its aggression centers are shutting down. They're being replaced by happiness. Rortak slammed all four of his fists onto his command console. Happiness. The beast doesn't feel happiness. It's designed for destruction, engineered for terror. Sir, Talir interrupted, pointing at a new reading. You need to see this. The humans are. They're taking pictures with it. The screen split to show multiple views. In one, a brave child was sitting on the beast's back while their parent took photos. In another, the beast was posing with a group of teenagers making peace signs. Its deadly tail, capable of slicing through tank armor, was wagging so hard it was creating small dust clouds. This is beyond humiliating, Rortak growled. Send in the recovery team. We must retrieve the beast before. Sir, another officer called out. The beast is getting a collar. Down in the park, Tom was indeed fitting a large, bright blue collar around the beast's armored neck. The collar was made from strong nylon webbing that Tom normally used for the biggest dogs on his client list, but he'd had to connect two of them together to fit the beast's massive neck. There you go, buddy, Tom said, attaching a name tag that read Rex. Now you're officially part of the family. The beast, now Rex, let out a happy rumble that shook nearby trees. Its glowing eyes, once red with rage, now shone a peaceful blue. The complex battle computers in its brain had found a new purpose, calculating the perfect angle to catch frisbees. Start recording, Rortak ordered. The Federation Council will never believe this without evidence. The scene in the park had turned into something between a block party and a pet adoption event. Someone had set up a hot dog stand, and Tom was teaching Rex to sit gently for treats. The massive creature's armored plates, designed to deflect plasma weapons, now gleamed with water from where some kids had given it a quick wash with a garden hose. The beast's combat protocols are being overwritten, Merle said in disbelief. They're being replaced with dog training commands. Indeed, Rex was learning quickly. It now sat on command, though the ground shook slightly each time it did. Its previously toxic saliva had somehow been neutralized by the power of belly rubs and hot dog treats. The spikes along its back, meant to impale enemies, now served as convenient scratching posts for the other dogs. Launch a psychological attack. Rortak commanded desperately. Activate the fear pheromones. The ship's computers complied, sending signals to trigger Rex's built-in chemical warfare systems. Down in the park, Rex sneezed, shook its massive head, then went right back to playing with a rope toy that some firefighters had made by tying together several fire hoses. Sir, Talir said quietly, I think we need to consider the possibility that we've lost the beast. Lost it. Rortak's crystalline eyes flashed with anger. It cost 12 billion credits to develop. It's the most advanced biological weapon ever created. And now it's playing fetch with a stick that used to be a lamppost, Merle added, trying not to sound amused. On the view screen, Rex bounded after the makeshift toy, its 8-foot frame moving with surprising grace. The crowd cheered each time it brought the post back to Tom, who had somehow gotten the creature to release it gently instead of crushing it to atoms as its training would have suggested. The humans, Talir observed thoughtfully, they didn't try to fight it or control it. They just loved it. Rortak slumped in his command chair, watching as his fearsome weapon learned to shake hands with its massive clawed paw. Somewhere in the background, he could hear Merle humming a tune that the humans had started singing in the park. Who's a good boy? Rex is a good boy. News travels fast in the age of social media, but news about a giant alien war beast becoming the good boy travels even faster. Within 24 hours of Rex's arrival, the story had spread across every corner of Earth and into the far reaches of the galaxy. Tom sat in his small apartment, staring at his phone in disbelief. The Instagram account he had created for Rex, @GoodAstalianBoy, had gained 10 million followers overnight. His latest post, showing Rex wearing a flower crown made by local children, had nearly crashed the platform's servers. "I don't understand," said the Federation's media expert, Paul, addressing an emergency council meeting. "Our propaganda department spent years building the beast's terrifying image. Now look at these." The council chamber screens filled with images from Earth, Rex attending puppy training classes, Rex playing in a sprinkler, Rex carefully holding an ice cream cone in his massive claws, and Rex napping with a pile of smaller dogs using him as a bed. "The humans are making what they call memes," Paul continued, his scales turning pale with distress. "They're calling him Space Puppy and Intergalactic Good Boy. Our weapon of terror has become cute." In New York, Rex had become the city's newest celebrity. The massive creature now had a daily routine that involved morning walks through Central Park with Tom and his regular dog clients. People would line up for hours just to give Rex a pat or take a selfie with him. The city had quickly adapted to their unusual new resident. Fire hydrants were reinforced to handle Rex's territory marking. The park installed industrial-strength dispensers for waste bags. Local pet shops started carrying specially made treats the size of dinner plates. "Look at this," Commander Urtak growled, showing his officers a viral video. In it, Rex was sitting patiently at a red light with Tom, wearing a custom-made vest that read "Service Animal in Training." The sight of Earth's most fearsome alien visitor waiting politely for a walk signal had reduced the Federation's intimidation factor to 0. But the real cultural shock came from how this affected diplomatic relations. Other alien species, long terrified of the Federation's military might, began to question everything after seeing Rex learn to roll over on command. "We have received 700,000 adoption applications from across the galaxy," Talir reported, scrolling through endless messages. "Various species want to know if we have any more space puppies available. The Zentari Empire has offered to trade 3 star systems for what they call puppy training secrets." Tom, meanwhile, had become an unintentional diplomat. The local veterinary college had asked him to teach a course on xenobiological pet care. His first lecture, "Understanding Your Alien War Beast: From Destruction to Belly Rubs," was attended by beings from 17 different planets. Rex's transformation continued to amaze everyone. The creature's built-in weapon systems had been completely repurposed. Its armor-piercing claws were now perfect for gentle back scratches. The plasma-hot breath that once melted tanks was regulated to comfortable warmth for cold days. Even its comeback computer brain now primarily calculated optimal paths to chase squirrels. "The humans have even created merchandise," Merle said, showing Urtak a Rex plushie that played the sound of purring when squeezed. The commander just put his head in all 4 of his hands. The Federation's science division was particularly baffled. Their top researchers had spent decades creating the perfect killing machine, only to watch it become the galaxy's most beloved pet. They had to admit that humans possessed some power they couldn't understand. The ability to find cuteness in even the most terrifying creatures. As the sun set over New York, Tom sat on a park bench with Rex's massive head in his lap. The once fearsome beast was dozing peacefully, surrounded by his smaller dog friends. A group of alien tourists watched from a safe distance, taking notes on human pet-keeping techniques. "Who would have thought," Tom mused, scratching behind Rex's armored ears, "that all it took to stop an alien invasion was some treats and a good belly rub?" Rex's tail thumped happily against the ground, creating small tremors that registered on nearby seismographs. The Federation's ultimate weapon had found a new purpose in life, being the goodest boy in the entire galaxy. Commander Ratak stood before the Federation Grand Council, his once proud posture now slumped with defeat. The massive council chamber, with its high crystal ceilings and floating platforms, was packed with representatives from 100 different species. All of them had gathered to discuss one thing: the Beast incident. "Explain yourself, Commander," the Grand Chancellor spoke, her 6 eyes narrowing. "How did our most advanced weapon become Earth's most popular pet?" Before Artak could answer, the main screen lit up with the latest viral video from Earth. It showed Rex, the former beast, dressed in a graduation cap and gown, receiving a certificate from the Advanced Canine Good Citizen program. The audience cooed as the massive creature gently took the diploma in its teeth without leaving a single tooth mark. The humans, where Artak began, his voice shaking. They have powers we don't understand. They can turn any predator into what they call a good boy. The council chamber erupted with chatter. On smaller screens around the room, more images from Earth played. Rex helping firefighters by carrying water tanks, Rex visiting children's hospitals, carefully squeezing through reinforced hallways, and Rex appearing on morning talk shows where he demonstrated his new tricks. Do you realize, the Chancellor continued, that our military recruitment has dropped by 60%? Nobody fears us anymore. Not after seeing our ultimate weapon learning to give paw on intergalactic television. A junior council member raised a tentacle. But have you seen how cute he looks in the rain boots they made him? The little splashing in puddles. Silence. The Chancellor boomed. This is a serious military crisis. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Tom was dealing with his own kind of crisis. He sat in a hastily assembled United Nations committee meeting, trying to explain dog training to a room full of world leaders and alien diplomats. It's really not that complicated, Tom said, scratching his head. Rex just needed love, patience, and consistent positive reinforcement. Oh, and bacon treats. The bacon treats were key. The aliens in the room frantically took notes. Several Federation species had already started bacon production facilities, hoping to unlock the secret of Earth's predator pacification technology. But what about the neural override circuits? Asked a Federation scientist. The rage inductors? The combat programming? Tom shrugged. Well, when Rex gets excited during playtime, sometimes the park glows a bit from his radiation, but he's learned to dial it back after we had to replace the melted playground equipment. Back in the council chamber, where Artak was showing security footage that only made things worse, the video displayed Rex participating in a dog show, his massive form delicately weaving through agility course obstacles while smaller dogs cheered him on. The beast's combat systems have been completely reprogrammed, Artak explained desperately. Its threat assessment protocols now only activate for mailmen and squirrels. And the plasma breath weapon? Asked a council member. Now used primarily for toasting marshmallows at children's camping events. Artak admitted, his mandibles drooping in shame. The Chancellor rose from her seat, all 6 arms clasped behind her back. The humans have done more than tame our weapon, Commander. They've revealed a fundamental flaw in our understanding of power. We thought fear was the strongest force in the galaxy. On the main screen, a new video played. Rex sleeping on his custom-made bed, reinforced steel frame with extra thick memory foam. Surrounded by smaller dogs and cats who had adopted him as their large, weird-looking friend. His gentle snoring caused small ripples in nearby water glasses, but nobody seemed to mind. Perhaps, the Chancellor continued, we should reconsider our approach to galactic diplomacy. You mean? Artak started. Yes, Commander. Schedule a meeting with Earth's dog trainers. If they can turn our deadliest weapon into a therapy animal, imagine what else they might teach us. As the council meeting ended, one final image appeared on the screens. Rex wearing a vest that read Intergalactic Peace Ambassador, his tail wagging so hard it was causing mini sonic booms, while Tom stood beside him giving a thumbs up. The Federation's greatest military failure had somehow become humanity's greatest diplomatic success. All because one dog walker decided to offer a treat instead of running away in fear. 1 year had passed since the day Rex landed in Central Park. The morning sun shone through the windows of Tom's newly expanded apartment, specially modified to accommodate his unique pet. Rex lay sprawled on his reinforced memory foam bed, which took up most of the living room, surrounded by his collection of favorite toys. A partially crushed tank, a gift from the military museum, several industrial-strength rubber balls, and his beloved squeaky toy, made from space-age materials to withstand his bite. Former Commander Ratak, now serving as the Federation's ambassador to Earth, sat on Tom's couch, sipping what humans called coffee. His 4 hands cradled the mug as he watched Rex gently playing with a tiny kitten that had recently adopted them. "I still don't understand," Ratak said, shaking his head. "Our scientists spent 3 generations creating the perfect killing machine. We used the most advanced genetic engineering, the most sophisticated combat programming, the deadliest biological weapons." Tom smiled, tossing a treat to Rex, who caught it midair with surprising delicacy. Sometimes the best way to defeat an enemy is to make them family instead. The apartment had become a strange mix of Earth and alien technology. Rex's water bowl was made from battleship armor plating. His collar now included a universal translator that let him communicate in simple words, though he mostly just said things like play and friend and good boy. The Federation's entire military strategy was based on fear. Ratak continued, watching as Rex let the kitten bat at his armored tail. "We never considered this." Outside, Earth had changed too. The skies were filled with alien tourist ships, all coming to learn the mysterious human art of pet keeping. The Federation's former war beasts were being retrained as therapy animals, search and rescue workers, and companions. The galaxy's most feared military force had transformed into the galaxy's largest adoption agency. Tom's dog-walking business had evolved into the Intergalactic Pet Training Academy. Every morning, he could be seen walking through Central Park with a strange parade. Earth dogs of all sizes, reformed alien war beasts, and even a few small floating creatures that had decided they wanted to be pets too. "Watch this," Tom said proudly. "Rex, show Ambassador Ratak your new trick." Rex's eyes glowed with excitement as he carefully stacked a pile of treats on his nose, waiting patiently for permission to eat them. His combat computers, once used for calculating missile trajectories, now precisely measured the angle needed to keep the treats balanced. "The amazing thing," Tom explained, "is that he's teaching the other reformed war beasts. They come here aggressive and scared, but Rex shows them how to be gentle, how to play, how to love." Ratak nodded, remembering how the Federation's other weapons had started changing after seeing Rex's videos. The Doom Hounds had learned to fetch. The Terror Claws had become expert at giving high fives. Even the dreaded Nightmare Stalkers had turned out to be excellent at cuddling. "The humans never saw our weapons as weapons," Ratak mused. "They saw them as lost, lonely creatures who needed love." Tom's phone buzzed. Another interview request. Ever since Rex had won Best in Show at the first Intergalactic Dog Show, in a specially created category, everyone wanted to know their story. But Tom kept things simple, just doing what he'd always done, helping animals become their best selves. Rex's translator collar crackled to life. "Love EFANILY. Protect the friends. Good boy." "Yes, you are," Tom laughed, scratching behind Rex's armored ears. "The very best boy." Ratak watched as the creature that had once been the Federation's deadliest weapon dozed off. The kitten curled up between his massive paws. The former commander understood now what the humans had known all along. True strength wasn't in the ability to destroy, but in the courage to love. As the sun set over New York, casting an orange glow through the apartment windows, Tom looked at his unusual family. A former alien commander, an ex-war beast, a tiny kitten, and a collection of regular dogs, and smiled. The galaxy had expected Earth to fight fire with fire. Instead, they had fought fear with friendship, hatred with love, and won a victory greater than any battle. Rex's gentle snoring rattled the windows slightly, but nobody minded. After all, that's just what family does. They accept each other, quirks and all.